those things and more to Trump, and she is on the likely witness list.
There are, I in that period of time, 2015, 2016, I was in Donald Trump's presence like a fair amount. Unfortunately, a fair amount.
What's your favorite verse? All of them.
Yes, yeah. But if you asked, just as a statement of fact, who are the names that came out of Donald Trump's mouth more often in private settings, casual settings, not on the stump, but like when he was like in his office, backstage at a political event? The two names were Hope and Rona. Like, you didn't hear him talk about Paul Manafort's name earlier. I mean, I'm not saying he never mentioned Paul Manafort, but Paul Manafort, Corey Lewandowski, ultimately Steve Bannon, those names did not tumble out of Trump's mouth. He would invoke Rona and Hope dozens of times a day, often in the same breath. They were the people who had the most access to him, the most trafficked him, the ones who mattered the most to him, the ones who ran his life in different respects, one more administrative, one more as the interface to politics. But yes, I think, she will be a fascinating witness, and she has, she occupied and may still, but certainly then occupied an incredibly important place psychically for him. And had an access to things that even Rona, who was more mechanically involved in where is he going, what is he doing, where are things, who does he have to answer, who does a phone call he has to return. Hope was more at that nexus where politics, scandal, law, staff, internal politics, external politics, where it all came together, and communications. I mean, she knows the inside of his head, I would say, better than literally anybody.
And it seemed that the defense team spent a lot of time today trying to impugn David Pecker's memory when it came to Hope's presence in that meeting.
Memory, and it was a not so subtle, and he's a liar. They didn't quite come out and say it, but
memory, but you're right.
I mean, it was both. Right. I mean, that's, by the way, defense is entitled to try and do that, to say, you know what, here's choose from column A, he doesn't remember well, or choose from column B, he's a liar, or maybe you want to think both. That's defense job, is to do that. You have to remember, they also know very much what she's going to say. And it's really important. This is, in some ways, a little bit of kabuki theater, in that the parties have full statements from everyone. They've been in the grand jury. They've got what are called 302s they've been interviewed by the FBI. That's the form they fill out. They have interview notes of state investigators. So, both sides are operating with this sort of a full picture. So they know how much she is going to either corroborate David Pecker or where she doesn't back him up. I find one thing that's really interesting is the defense, correctly, as witnesses are on, tries to say, didn't you think Donald Trump was a great boss? They did that with Rodengraff. And it was like, yes, for 34 years. And they try and get good information. In fact, you saw the prosecution do that with David Pecker, because it was useful to say, this guy who's such a liar, he loves this guy, right? Still. It'll be interesting where Hope Hicks is on that, because there was both a deep loyalty, and then there was a very rocky end. And so it'll be interesting who asked those questions about, the sort of, is he really a good guy? And so I think that will be a bit of a tell as to what each side is thinking about where her loyalties are, and also how much she's just decided, I better just tell the truth.
I think he called her Hopi. But Hope, Trump might say Hopi, was in on information you didn't have access to.
That's correct. And it was someone that was in the orbit of the characters that, I'm sitting next to Dylan Howard's office, and Michael Cohen is on the phone as we're doing this operation with Dino the doorman. And I'm sort of thinking to myself, why is Michael Cohen constantly calling? We haven't even gone for comment yet. And we had, in place a reporter, trying to stake out the woman involved in the love adult, as I was calling her at that time, because she was in her mid-20s. We hadn't got to a situation where anyone from the Trump organization should have been alerted to the story or engaged, but yet Dylan Howard was talking to Michael Cohen, and I assumed was asking for updates, which further goes to the scheme and the people in place that were talking to the Inquirer at the time.
Tell me when you figure out, tell me sort of between which stories and which parts you touched that you figured out that something smelled?
So the doorman happens, and you know, where he sits for the polygraph, he passes, but yet he's passing for something he's heard secondhand. So, you know, I'm still in the mind that the story's probably not true, but we haven't gone through all the reporting yet. But yet then the decision is, the word comes to stand down. And you know, David Pecker's decided we're going to pay him $30K, which again was a highly unusual, you know, very large sum of money. Plus, then there is a clause that is later installed, $1 million break clause. That both of those, I can't stress, were unusual. So I'm thinking
the norm was
thousands of dollars. So, yeah, thousands of dollars to sign a source up or to buy someone's story, not $30,000.
And what about the $1 million penalty clause if there's a breach?
Incredibly unusual to put that in place. You know, most contracts don't have a break clause like that. And the other thing that's highly unusual is all sources are paid post publication. They're paid when the story, you know, had run in the magazine. And David Pecker watched every dollar. There was a $10K limit that we had to spend on stories. For, you know, anything more had to go to David Pecker's office, and Dylan Howard had to go and get that approval. So that situation happens, and I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of bizarre, but then we're moving on to other stories. It gets more and more chaotic as we're generating more and more of these hit pieces. And I cannot stress again how much time is going in to these covers, because then David Pecker then has to critique them. We're now learning that they were going off to the campaign to Michael Cohen, who was then coming back with suggestions and additions. But for me, you know, in August of 2016. Dylan Howard tells me about a woman by the name of Karen McDougal, that he's gone out to Los Angeles, he's interviewed, and he finds her story credible. And I'm sitting there going, great, like, when are we breaking this? You know, what do you need me to do? Like, yeah, how can we get this, you know, up? Yeah. And then he says, no, we're not running it. And David Pecker's made the decision to buy it for $150K. To protect Donald Trump. And I think that was one of those moments where I was just like, where am I? This is going to absolutely take me down with it. I thought my career is basically going to be over because of all of this. And my working relationship with Dylan Howard, that was the beginning, really, of the end.
We're just taking a break, but I do want to get your thoughts on how explicitly grateful Trump was to David Pecker, the White House
friend and mentor.
Yeah,
friend and mentor, he called him on the stand.
I want to bring all that back as the week comes to an end. The panel sticks around. We will all be right back.